Hi, I'm Susan Kennedy of Pretty Peaceful, and this afternoon I noticed the house was quiet and I'm home alone, which is really rare. And I looked down here at my crochet spot, which is where I normally sit and crochet every day, and it's so nice and sunny here. So I figured let's grab our crochet projects and I'll show you what I've been working on, and we can just crochet and be peaceful together and enjoy this sunny afternoon. So I'm wearing my Cozy Cowgirl cowl. This is my last pattern I put up on Ravelry here, and I am so cozy. I'm so cozy right now. I've been wearing this thing a lot. I really love it. It's one ball of Lion Brand Feels Like Bliss yarn. And I do have that yarn available at prettypeaceful.com, and another Lion Brand shipment's on the way. So get to restock of some colors I'm out of. So this is the pattern I've been working on. It's a little variation of it. It's called Peaceful. And that's really what it is, right? It's just universal symbol for peace. And this one I made in November. It's a baby blanket. And I'm using Lion Brand mandala scraps for this. All my little bits and bobs of mandala and some kind of like partial cakes. So this one I used a 5mm hook to make this baby blanket here, all scraps, and I'm just using up each little ball of yarn, you know, on a section here. And then this one I made with a smaller hook. Let's see, what size hook is this? Same pattern, but a 2.75mm hook. That's a C. That's my Clover Soft Touch one. And I did the calculations and measurements on this, and the geometry wasn't quite perfect. So I started another one with the correct ratio for a like geometrically accurate peace sign, because we got to get the vibe right? So let's crochet together, and I'll show you, just do a couple rows here and show you how I've been working this, and how you can use up really tiny little yarn scraps to make it. So this pattern is called Peaceful, and you can make it with any yarn you want. Could be super bulky, could be fingering, really any yarn. And if you want to make a blanket, just use the hook size recommended on the yarn label. And if you want to make a smaller one like this, which I intend to be like either a yarn bombing kind of wall hanging type thing, or, you know, if I attend any peaceful protest, this will be my peaceful protest flag, which is great because it'll, you know, fold up and fit right in my purse. So I'm using Lion Brand mandala yarn, which is DK weight yarn. And for this one, I'm using a smaller hook, 2.75, to make this little kind of portable one. So I'm just about to start a new color here, and it's worked with basically two colors. We've got the background, that's the main color, and then the peace sign, that's the contrast color. So for each row, most of the rows, you're going to need 4 small balls of the main color and 3 small balls of the contrast color. And I'm only using 2 balls because I'm pulling from the inside and the outside, which is risky business if you're prone to tangles. But the nice thing about this is that after every couple of rows, you're cutting the yarn anyway, so the tangles kind of like take care of themselves. So I'm going to dig out my next color here and divide this into 4 little balls. So they're each section is going to be worked from its own ball of yarn. And they don't have to be very big. All right, there's 1. Now I have 2. I'll just pull out the center. That'll be 3. And maybe on this one I'll work from the inside and the outside, which is living dangerously. So let's zoom in a little bit. So whenever I add a new yarn, I'm just yarning over and pulling it through. And I'm going to crochet over my ends. I've been crocheting over all of my ends and just leaving the last little bit here hanging out. So that, you know, I don't know if I'll block this one or not, but you can just kind of tighten it up and keep your hand flat on the tapestry. And that can kind of correct any tension issues that you may have that's making this like a little crooked. And then after you do that, you can just cut the tails. That's what I do. I don't weave them in. There's just too many. And for me, because I don't love weaving in ends, it would just take all the joy out of this project. We're crocheting over them. So you can start the row with a chain 3 if you want, but to get a really nice straight edge, I like to use the chainless starting double crochet. So for that technique, you pull up a loop that's about the size of the double crochet stitch, and you put your finger on top here, pull the tip of the hook towards you and then to the back to make a wrap of yarn around the hook, and keep your finger there. And then we yarn over, insert it into the stitch, and I'm going to wrap around both of the carried yarns I have here, yarn over and pull through. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 of the loops, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2. And you can give it a little tug to tighten it, but don't smash it all the way down. And there's your chainless starting double crochet. And Tamara Kelly at mooglyblog.com is the one that I learned that from. She's got a really excellent photo tutorial and video on her website, mooglyblog.com. You can search for chainless starting double crochet or chainless standing double crochet, and there's like a new improved version of it. That's the one I've been using. And so go check it out. Tamara's a great teacher. And I'm crocheting over my tails here because I just don't want to weave in the ends. So it's going to be a little bit thicker here, but you don't really notice on the overall end product. And after about 10 or 12 stitches, I'm going to drop one of the tails, and then I'll do a couple more and then drop the other tail. That's just my preferred way. You can keep crocheting till they run out, but I do like to leave those little bits hanging to adjust the tension later. If your border's going in or your edges are going in and out like that, sometimes you can just give it a tug or pull on those yarn tails, and that will even it out. So on this row I'm working, which is row 51, I'm working 24 stitches in the main color, and the last 2 of them are going to be on top of these purple ones. So I'm going to make sure I'm pulling that yarn up, and when I go into that stitch, I want to make sure that the yarn is pulled up so I can crochet over it as I work these last 2 stitches. And I'm not going to finish that last stitch in the main color yet. I'm going to drop the main color yarn, pick up my contrast color yarn, and start crocheting with that. Just for the last yarn over, and then I've got 16 stitches here. And the inspiration for this pattern, for a long time I've really been interested in kind of universal symbols of peace. I remember being in like middle school and wanting to learn how to write the word peace in Japanese and other languages, and I really wanted this pattern, Peaceful, to be universally recognizable by anyone in the world. They know what this means. It means peace. It means nonviolence. And that's what I'm all about, really. So I'm excited about this one. I'm excited to make baby blankets. I want to try to make a really giant puffy one with just 2 colors of maybe burnout blanket or like a super bulky. I might try making it with Lion Brand Feels Like Bliss, because it's like one of my new favorite yarns. It's just so comfy against the skin. It's like a acrylic nylon blend, and I believe it is. Don't quote me on that. But it's just so comfy. I'm wearing this cowl right now. It's breathable, and I think it would just make a really great blanket. So I might try that. And using just 2 colors it would make it a lot faster, I think. I've been doing, some time holding up the next color and seeing, does it match, does it not match? kind of debating about which one to use next. Oops. And when it's time to change back colors, you just don't finish that last yarn over yet. Just finish that last yarn over with a new color. And then I like to put the hook under that little carried bit where we had to pull the yarn up. And what have I done here? So I like to catch that and then go into the stitch and then finish my double crochet. And it creates this little kind of slightly raised area from pulling up that yarn, but I like the clean, kind of crisp look of that personally in my tapestry crochet. And double crochet is my favorite way to do tapestry crochet. And there's a chart for this one. Each square of the chart represents 2 double crochet stitches. So like a little block like that, each square of the chart. So you could even use this chart for other crafts. Other stitches, corner to corner, really anything you want. Add a new yarn and yarn over with that. And I'm going to pull this old turquoise yarn up and crochet over that so I don't have to weave in the end. And every once in a while, like if this last purple stitch looks really loose, you just tug on the back and try to keep the stitches from getting distorted. If you pull your carried yarn too much, for example, like this, you start to squash down that little stitch there. You can just pull it back up. But once you change to the next color, you can't fix it by pulling it back up very much. So, you can kind of check before the color change and see if you have anything squashed or weird looking. Well, I changed my mind on what color I wanted to do next. So I pulled that bit out and I'm starting this row over with this new color. It's a little bit closer to that same one I was working with, but I just want to use up all the scraps of this color. So going with a little bit of a darker blue here. So the inspiration for this pattern is really just peaceful thoughts and trying to keep, focus on the positive, be creative, be peaceful, be productive, and just do what we can day by day, right? Take it easy. And I know, I'm American, I'm in Colorado. The news has been rough, man. The news has been really rough. And it's, kind of reminds me of, back when, like maybe 2003, America was talking about going to war, and we had a lot of peaceful protesting. And my twin sister and I, my twin sister Karen and I and our buddy Pete, we drove down to Washington, D.C., and it was like a 9-hour drive through the snow this same time of year. And blizzard conditions. And we stayed with a friend of ours there and went to a protest on the, like that main rectangle. What's it called? I'm blanking out. The mall, right? The Washington Mall. And I made a protest sign at the time that said "Park Your Guns," which is the name of a reggae song by Norris Man. That's just, it's a peaceful song. And, truly park the guns, right? Violence is never the answer. And it's reggae inspires me a lot with that. Bob Marley and his peaceful ways. And Bob Marley knew that violence was not going to get you anywhere. And if you win with violence, you're going to fight again. And there can't be a lasting peace with violence. So we have to win it with Rasta, like Bob Marley said. And for me, this pattern here involves a little bit of a Rasta vibe because Rastafarians use what they have. It's like a use what you've got, make the best of what you have kind of attitude. At least the Rastafarians I've met. And You know, in crafting, this is an opportunity to use what you have and mix different yarns, go crazy with it, and use up all the scraps. You know, pull up those projects that maybe you started and you don't love, and pull them out and mix all those colors together and see what comes, and maybe you'll love it. I hope you love it. I hope you make something cool. And hopefully this pattern will be up on Ravelry soon. I only have, let's see, 18 rows left to go on this. So a couple more nights. I wish I could crochet all day, but I work full time. And, you know, then I'm cooking dinner for the kids and don't have a lot of time to crochet. My main crochet time is from like, you know, 9:30 to 11 p.m. I get as much done as I can. And then the weekends. But Saturday, Sunday morning comes around and there's always the dilemma of, do I read or do I crochet? Do I read or do I crochet? Because I love to read. And currently I'm reading a book by George Eliot called Felix Holt the Radical. And George Eliot is a pen name. I have to grab my book so we can look up her real name, Marion Evans. Felix Holt the Radical. I love a Penguin classic. And it's funny that, you know, it's no spoiler alerts, but it covers like an election in 1833, I believe. And so many parallels to what's going on in politics these days from the 1830s. And oh, it's just amazing. And I love reading it. So I always have to decide, am I going to read or am I going to crochet? And usually I read a little bit, then crochet a little bit, then read a little bit more, crochet a little bit more. And I know there's always audiobooks, but man, I love a good paperback. Paperback book is my jam. So I'm going to pull up that darker turquoise yarn so I can crochet over that too. And so you'll get this little line of straight yarn there, which gives you a nice crisp edge on the color change. And keep crocheting over those ends. Well, thank you for hanging out with me today, crocheting in the sunshine. It was really nice to take a little break from work. And keep your eye out for this pattern called Peaceful. It will be free on Ravelry. And I'll try to put it in the files of Pretty Peaceful People. And maybe some of you peaceful people will like to make one. And if you do, send me a photo, tag me, send me a message on Messenger. I love to see it. Post your project in the Pretty Peaceful People group. You know, share it wherever you want to. And if you take yours to a protest, I would love to see that photo too. All right, keep it peaceful, everybody. Peace be with you, and may there be peace, and may it begin with me.